To play. Zygarde EX, of course, is not weak to Psychic, which, Buzzwole GX is, and one of the main counters that these Zoroark Eggs decks have to the Psychic weak Buzzwole GX is their Mewtwo, and we see in this case the Mewtwo evolutions as opposed to the Mewtwo EX. So Zygarde EX could definitely play a factor, as well as Lycanroc GX, also not being weak to Psychic.
Yeah, another cool thing about Sydney's list, she's actually running a copy of Wide Lens, which it's a tool card that you attach to a Pokemon, and it allows you to hit a bench Pokemon for weakness and resistance with a sniping attack. So that'll allow Buzzwole to actually kill Zoruas in one hit.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be really important for Joey to find his Mr. Mime if he wants to avoid that potential early 2 prizes from Sydney. So hopefully Joe's going to have access to that Mr. Mime, that bench barrier ability, of course, preventing damage done to benched Pokemon from attacks. And we've seen a lot of the Zoroark, basically all the Zoroark decks, switching to playing this Mr. Mime because of how popular Buzzwole was expected to be heading into the weekend.
Yeah, the last thing that seems pretty interesting here, she's actually playing 3 copies of Fighting Fury Belt. Another very interesting choice, not opting for Choice Band or Muscle Band.
Yeah, definitely not what we expect to see out of these Buzzwole decks, I'd say. Usually you want the Muscle Bands, gives you that extra damage on things like Trubbish. Choice Band lets you hit for more damage on things like Zoroark GX. But opting just for the Fighting Fury Belts really wants to have high HP Buzzwole GXs, and it's obviously paid off for her here, being 4-0. Joe is coming into this round at 3-0-1. And both of these guys are in a great spot here heading into the rest of this tournament. And looks like Sid's going to be going first. Starting off with an Ultra Ball, going to go ahead and find a Buzzwole GX along with an Energy Attachment and an N to follow up with that.
Yeah, she started the Baby Buzzwole, a card we actually haven't really seen much of. A lot of hype around that card, but we have not had a chance to actually see it do some damage here. So hopefully she can use that to her advantage this time.
Absolutely, and is going to shuffle each of these players' hands into their decks. They'll draw a number of cards equal to the number of prize cards they have remaining, and we'll see what else Sydney wants to get off on this turn. Can maybe find something like, some Max Elixirs to start powering up that Buzzwole even more. But if she puts too many energies on Buzzwole at once, she opens herself up to being attacked by a Mewtwo from Evolutions on Joey's side.
Yeah, looks like Sydney plays that Brooklet Hill, a staple card of every Buzzwole deck. This is going to allow her to get a Rockruff here, get that set up, start going for next turn, or whenever she does want to use the catcher effect. So this is really a great start for Sydney, exactly where she wants to be.
Yeah, she's going to have basically everything she wants in play at this point. She's got the Remoraid down so she can get her Octillery in play, got the Rockruff down to have access to Bloodthirsty Eyes and Dangerous Rogue later. Already has Baby Buzzwole in play. Maybe not the best starter, but, is definitely something that is usually can come in and have an effect against these Zoroark decks.
Yeah, Joey opts to use the Brooklet Hill right away. This is good for a couple of reasons. He can use it as a free search without having to play a supporter, which is very huge for the Zoroark decks. And also he can find a Sudowoodo if he wants it, help limit Sydney's bench, maybe give him a chance later in the game.
Yep, there's really no reason not to go ahead and get Sudowoodo unless he doesn't have access to it in the deck. It means that he'll thin one more card out of his deck. It's in play. Buzzwole is a deck that can operate with not a huge bench size, so the roadblock ability doesn't hurt that much, but actually opting not to get it here. Maybe he doesn't have access to it, or maybe Joe has something else in mind.
Yeah, it doesn't look like didn't look like you want to take anything. Maybe he was just checking for something. I imagine he's got some sort of way to get a Bridget, maybe a Lele. He wants to get a lot of Zoruas down, especially he wants to get that Mr. Mime down.
Yeah, Mr. Mime is going to be very important here, that bench barrier ability, making sure that Sydney can't take multiple prizes in one single turn with just a 1 energy attack on Buzzwole GX.
Yeah, that Wide Lens will be very useful.
Yep, and with 3 copies of Karina in her deck, she has lots of ways to find it. Also, the Tapu Lele Ultra Ball can find the Tapu Lele. Just so many ways to find the card if she needs it. We also see Sydney's actually not playing any copies of VS Seeker. Kind of seen this from some of these fighting decks in the expanded format in the past. Opting not to play any copies of it, making themselves less vulnerable to things like Getsis. And looks like Joey actually just had that Sudowoodo in his hand, so that's why he didn't get it with Brooklet Hill.
Joey opts to Battle Compressor here. Likely going to pitch a couple eggs. That'll help save some resources when he uses Ultra Ball. Maybe he takes a supporter here as well. Could be a Bridget that he takes if he has VS Seeker, or a supporter for later.
Yeah, Battle Compressor is just another out most of the time to a turn 1 Bridget. If you open up with a VS Seeker or even like 2 puzzle at a time in your hand, you can use that to get the Bridget going turn 1 to get multiple Zoruas in play. And we'll just have to see what he gets rid of. Probably the 2 eggs at least. And if he already has another way to get Bridget, we might see him discard another supporter like, as we see here, Hex Maniac.
Interesting choice with the Hex Maniac. It looks like he's probably setting up for later turns here, but he must be pretty confident in his setup with his hand right now.
Ooh, Joe actually does not have a way to get turn one Bridget. Gonna have to just propagation, put one execute on the bench, attaches to the active, and is gonna go ahead and Colress here only gonna draw 5 cards off of this, and he needs to find a lot of good cards off of this Colress.
Yeah, this buzz will be able to knock out the Zorua and an egg if Joey doesn't get that out of there. But even if he does, he needs to find that Mr. Mime to make sure that Zorua is definitely protected.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't hit another Zorua, he'll definitely just retreat this Zoroark or this Zorua. Wants to protect those at all costs. It's actually interesting. We see Joey actually plays a split of the Zoruas. He plays 3 of the Dark Explorer Zorua that has the Paralyzing Gaze attack, and 1 Lunge Zorua, and the Lunge Zorua is actually the one that started, whereas this could have been an instance where Paralyzing Gaze could have come in handy.
Yeah, definitely could have maybe bought him a turn, get a Zoroark going, set up more. Sydney right now, something for her very crucial would be getting that wide lens, take out that lone Zorua. A Guzma would work as well.
Ooh, there's a Karina. If she has a Floatstone way to retreat this active Buzzwole, she will be able to use the wide lens here if that's what she gets. Actually able to use Lycanroc to bring up the Zorua, can take 2 prizes here this turn and knock out the execute. Let's see if she gets the wide lens or if she has maybe a Floatstone if she wants to get that here. We'll just have to see what she goes with.
She runs 2 copies of Floatstone, but on that first pass, I don't know if I saw one. Could have been a Field Blower that I saw, but definitely taking the Lycanroc. That's a great play. Yeah, I don't know what she's going to take.
Yeah, and even if she doesn't have the wide lens knockout here, she can just at least get Lycanroc. Looks like she's going to get Lycanroc and Elixir. She can attach an energy to the active Buzzwole, and Sledgehammer's base damage is 30, so it will be able to knock out the Fighting Weak Zorua and take Joe's only Zorua out of play.
Yeah, looks like she's opting for Ultra Ball, probably grabbing that Octillery, maybe hoping to draw into a Floatstone here. That way she can pull off this combo. But if not, yeah, like you said, does have that Sledgehammer knockout on Zorua.
It definitely leaving herself with options here. I probably, we might see her use this Elixir. We might see her attach before she uses Abyssal Hand. But we might see her actually use Abyssal Hand first. Just kind of what she draws might depend on how she plays out the rest of this turn.
Yeah, definitely. So she opts to Elixir here. Where do you think she's placing this? Does she charge the Rockruff for a later Dangerous Rogue, or does she put it on Buzzwole?
I think you put it on Rockruff here as we see her go ahead and do that. I think, having your energy spread out, making sure you have lots of different options for attackers later on is definitely important. And Sydney also doesn't know which version of Zoroark Joe's playing. Like we've seen the versions running around that have the Mewtwo EX with the plus power that can knock out 1 energy Buzzwoles. And so she's going to opt to go ahead and just play her hand out. It brings up that Zorua. We do see the Abyssal Hand drawing her 5 cards here. Does have a Beast Ring in her hand. That could be good in the future. And she's got energy on 3 different Pokemon right now on her second turn. She is in a really solid spot.
This is a phenomenal board state for Sydney. I don't think one could be better. Hits both Elixirs this turn. Joe will not even have a Zorua on his next turn. So this game is definitely with Sydney in the driver's seat.
Yeah, this is looking really good for Sydney. Didn't find a way to retreat that Buzzwole, but still can Sledgehammer knockouts with the Fighting Weak Zorua. Joe just sends up that Sudowoodo with no Zoruas in play. This is a tough spot. Does get the Tapu Lele though, so this can find him a Bridget now if he wants it. We'll have to see. Maybe he's deeming himself farther behind here and needs to get himself more set up another way.
He opts for a Colress here. Like you said, probably just hoping to draw into something more. Realizes a Bridget probably isn't going to be good enough now that Sydney's got this full board set up.
Yeah, I think he had a Pokemon Communication in his hand, so he can use Execute, Propagate, put that back in the deck, and then use the Pokemon Communication. Get another Zorua that way. Also gets 1 more benched Pokemon that he can use to draw more cards with Colress.
Grabs that Zorua.
So he has a Choice Band in his hand. Gonna go ahead and attach that. Wants to thin that out. That's not something he wants to draw off of this Colress. And like we said, he could have gone for a Zorua this turn, or excuse me, a Bridget this turn. Gotten a couple of Zoruas, maybe the Mr. Mime in play. But really just seeing I'm behind in this game. I really need a lot in order to win this game. So I'm gonna go ahead and play Colress. Try to draw more cards than what Bridget would give me, and see if I can just get a little lucky.
Definitely. But Colress is for 7. Honestly, the only thing he needs is Zorua. Mime would be great, but I wonder if Sydney will opt to get a different Buzzwole here and start using a wide lens, maybe pick off those Zoruas.
Yeah, she'll definitely have options. Joe has options himself, options to basically everything in his deck because we see that computer search in his hand, that powerful A-spec card that can allow him to search his deck for any card and put it in his hand. So he'll have access to another Zorua if he wants it, but maybe depending on what the rest of his hand looks like, he may go for something else.
Joey opts to attach a double colorless to Lele. Going to start putting some pressure on that baby Buzzwole. Not really the best thing, but the best thing he can do right now. Computer search. What do you think he grabs here with this?
We'll see here in a moment. Maybe another Zorua, though, would make the most sense to me, as you mentioned, just getting that in play. Make sure that you're going to at least have one Zoroark GX on the next turn, or have the ability to get one Zoroark GX on the next turn. So that would make the most sense to me, but depending on the rest of his hand, that might not be what he got. But it looks like, he just goes ahead and throws it down. So we see Tapu Lele coming to the active with that double colorless energy. Energy Drive will deal 60 damage to this Buzzwole, and you don't really like seeing that on turn 2 if you're a Zoroark deck.
Definitely. Sydney looks like she tops a Guzma here, so she'll be able to take out at least one of those Zoruas for sure. Honestly, the only thing I think Sydney wants right now is just setting up another Buzzwole and put this game even farther out of reach.
Yeah, it looks like she's just going to go ahead and just power up this Buzzwole all the way to the max, put 3 energies on it that it needs to take knockouts. She's got a Buzzwole powered up. Lycanroc is 1 energy away from attacking, draws that Diancie. She even gets the Karina here. If she has a Max Elixir, she could have maybe found Wide Lens off of this, but no, going to go ahead and just take the 2 prizes, knocking out the Fighting Weak Zorua, and also taking out an egg on the bench.
Yeah, she played the Guzma that turn, so she couldn't have used Karina.
Of course. So we see Sudowoodo coming to the active spot on Joe's side. He has a Shaman in his hand. If he gets his hand low enough, he can draw a couple cards. We see at least one Zoroark GX, so he'll at least be able to get something in play this turn.
If I'm Joey here, do you think I maybe need to start thinking about conserving time for Game 2 and Game 3? Because Sydney has such a commanding board state. Is there really anything Joey can do to crawl back into this game?
It's really tough. I think Joe is thinking here, maybe I can find my Mewtwo evolutions, maybe get a Field Blower, take out this Buzzwole with the Fighting Fury Belt on it, put Sid in a tough spot. But then all Sid needs to do, she's got 3 prizes. She takes the 1 prize on Mewtwo with the baby Buzzwole, because Joe would be at 4 prizes. And then with the 1 energy on Lycanroc, she'll be able to take her last 2 prizes on basically anything she wants. Honestly, at this point in the game, I'm not sure what Joe needs to do to win.
Joe replaces that Brooklet Hill with Skyfield, but that Sudowoodo is still down from Sydney, so he does only have 1 bench spot remaining here. I don't know what he can do here to stave off this onslaught from Sydney.
Yeah, he does have that Mewtwo. We might see that DCE if he can find one. Does still have access to trade this turn. And I think if he doesn't get an attack off with Mewtwo this turn, he might just go ahead and scoop his cards up and move on to the second game. Trying to conserve time, but still trying to figure out what he wants to do.
I didn't see what he drew. I think one of the cards was a Chorus. Opts to N. The N normally would be pretty good here, slow her down, but she does have that Octillery. The Abyssal Hand ability allows you to draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, which is actually better the farther into the game you get as you draw more and more cards with it.
And Joe, actually, he had that Mewtwo in his hand, but chose not to bench it. Why do you think that is? Does he not want to attack the Buzzwole here with that Mewtwo?
I'm not sure. I think maybe he realizes that the chance of him getting DC and Choice Band off of this N are low, and he'd rather, have another Zorua to try and get something going later. I'm not really sure.
He can still energy drive for a lot of damage here because of the 3 energies stacked up on that Buzzwole GX at this point in the game.
The problem is that Sydney used Jet Punch to knock out the 2 Pokemon last turn, so she can still Knuckle Impact this turn. So this Lele will get knocked out immediately, putting her down to 1 prize, and Joey is just in such a tough situation here.
Yeah, we're going to see him send up that Tapu Lele. Energy Drive here deals 100 damage. Still at this point in the game, it's not often you see a Zoroark deck move to turn number 4 and have not taken a single prize yet.
Definitely.
So it looks like we're having a little bit of a discussion here, just trying to figure some math out, I think. Just figuring out maybe how Sydney took her last couple prizes. Looks like all is good, though, and we're going to continue on with the game.
Zorua and an egg is 3.
So she does have a strong energy in her hand. She can go ahead and power up Lycanroc GX, try to set up for that Dangerous Rogue on to potentially win the game with that.
Yeah, she can really do anything she wants here, and I just don't see how Joey can Get out of this. Wide lens on the Lycanroc.
Not something you normally see for sure. Just wants to thin the card out so she can draw more with Abyssal Hand, though. I think that's definitely a sign that Sid is very far ahead in this game if she's putting a wide lens on Lycanroc GX.
Definitely, yeah. I think if she, like you said, if she just attaches that strong, she has a planned knockout here to go down to 1, and then can pretty much guarantee any knockout after that.
You know, maybe she's worried about some combination of like red card plus Hex as a big comeback potential from Joe. You know, her only real way to get a consistent draw without playing a supporter is going to be that Octillery. And yeah, Joe's just going to go ahead and scoop up his cards.
Yeah, he had to have seen the writing on the wall a couple turns ago at least, and just now realized that this is over. So
yeah, maybe wanted to just wait around, get a little more information about Sydney's deck. You know, if he had scooped up the previous turn, he actually might not have known that she has the wide lens, but we see her play the wide lens down on to that Lycanroc GX. Now Joe has that knowledge moving into game number 2 and 3.
Yeah, and that's honestly, that's something that I think is a very underrated aspect of something pro players do. Even though they know the game is lost, they just try and use as much time as possible to gather any information that they can to help them in these future rounds.
Yep, and it was interesting as well. Sydney chose not to attach that strong energy to the Lycanroc. Maybe she as well is unsure about Joe's list. Maybe trying to play around a potential enhanced hammer that could come out. We saw Alex Wilson in round number 1 was playing enhanced hammer in his Zoroark deck, so that's something maybe she has played against, maybe she is familiar with, so maybe trying to be conscious of that effort. So really smart play from both of these players that, like we said, are both year 1 masters, just aged up from the seniors division and finding themselves with success here in Roanoke.
Yeah, actually a very common theme. It seems like a lot of times first-year masters come onto the scene and really do well, scoring huge at regionals and intercontinentals like this. They got a lot to prove.
Absolutely.
And it seems that they belong here in the masters division.
Yeah, the senior division, unfairly so I'd say, gets a lot of flack from players in the Masters division from time to time as maybe the accomplishments, you know, it's a little easier, you know, the player base isn't as good, the regionals are smaller, but, you know, Joe and Sid here are proving that wrong, saying, hey, I'm able to come in as a first-year master and just really prove myself as my first year.
Definitely. And set up here for game 2. What does Joey need to do to get a better foot in this one?
You know, I think he would love to find that turn 1 Bridget. I see an Ultra Ball there in his hand, so he's going to at least have the option available to him. Start Shaman EX, which, you know, isn't the best, but it is actually resistant to fighting, so Buzzwole won't do a ton of damage to it, and he can potentially Sky Return it to set up for better numbers on Buzzwole later on with something like a Mewtwo.
Definitely. Looks like he's Ultra Balling away a Skyfield, and I think that's a Guzma.
I believe so. Gonna probably find a Tapu Lele here, you would think.
So if I'm Joey, I feel like knowing that the wide lens is in there, I'm taking Mime and double Zorua if they're in there.
Yeah, I think like the best case scenario for Joe would be he has a Zorua in hand already, maybe has a way to get one out and wants to get, you know, because you want to get multiple Zoruas down, right? So he'll minimum want to get the 2, but I think if he can find a way to get the 3rd, which he's bringing to the front now, he may want to do that. If he has access to Mime in another way, maybe like an Ultra Ball. We're going to see that Bridget.
He Ultra Balls for Bridget.
Yeah, Ultra Balls for Lele for the Bridget. There you go, Joe.
So he grabs triple Zorua. You know, maybe he's thinking Sydney doesn't have a Guzma and a wide lens in her hand, so she'll still only get 1 prize off of this at max, and he's willing to sacrifice one of those Zorua if it comes to that.
Man, that would be a pretty crazy combo here from Sydney to just, in her opening hand, have energy wide lens Guzma, but we have seen crazier things happen on this stream, so it is definitely something that is possible. And, you know, honestly, I think Sydney would be totally fine, even if she didn't get to knock out 2 Zoruas, just going wide lens and knocking out 1 Zorua. Taking those out early, getting a prize fast, definitely still seems strong.
Yeah, something Joey will have to do is get the Shaman out of the active spot anyway, so Sydney, maybe she's counting on it.
Red card here, going to force Sydney to shuffle her hand into her deck, draw 4 cards. You know, this is limiting her hand down -1 of what she had previously, so could, you know, potentially mess with what her setup wants to be. We see Joe put that Floatstone on Shaman EX, use another Shaman to set up, draw a couple more cards, and we'll see if he has anything else. Maybe a Skyfield and a Mime. Don't see it yet, though.
I did see he drew into 2 eggs, so hopefully he can get an Ultra Ball or something to get rid of those. But Sydney, the red card she drew into was quite good here.
Yeah, finds Sudowoodo, which is a great card to play. Finds an energy card as well, and Computer Search means she'll have access to any card out of her deck if she wants it. Looks like she does have to give up a Fighting Fury Belt as well as 1 more card. Can't quite tell what that one is. but gonna search her deck for any one card. Looks like she's eyeing up a Juniper right at the start.
Definitely, that's a fresh Juniper. That's high five worthy. She'll have no cards in hand, so nice clean Juniper.
Yep, and if she does find the Wildlands, we know she has a Fighting Energy as her last card in hand. So she'll be able to attach the active, and if she does find the Wide Lens, she can start knocking out Zorua as quick as this first turn.
Yeah, even if she doesn't, all she really wants to find is like a Brooklet Hill,
Yep.
Or a Rockruff or a Remoraid. Just set up a little more here. She does find a Remoraid, a Brooklet Hill, and an Ultra Ball. So this is a great Sycamore for Sydney. She's going to get set up, start putting pressure on immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Really solid start here. Looking like she's going to eye up the Rockruff. We know she drew into the Remoraid. I can maybe see getting like a Diancie Prism Star here, wanting to do more than just 10 damage to the Shaman on this turn, trying to set up for easier knockouts later on with like a big powerful Jet Punch with Beast Energy and Fighting Fury Belt and all that stuff. But maybe saying that's probably not going to happen. I know I don't play Choice Band in my deck, so it's harder to get these numbers on Shaman later in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Opting to take that Rockruff. She's got that Remoraid, so she'll bench that as well.
She also has an Ultra Ball. She could choose to use it. Actually not going to bench the Remoraid. Maybe she looked through her deck and knows her Octillery's prized.
Yeah, interesting. So Joey here, this is definitely what Joey wanted to see. All of his Zoruas survive. He can get Zorks going. If he draws well, he can really take control of his game this turn even.
Yeah, he could. This could be a huge turn. Joe does play the foul play Zoroark, so if he gets that in play and is able to get a double colorless plus a Choice Band, he would be able to use Knuckle Impact to knock it out. If he whiffs the Choice Band, he could actually even just use Absorption GX with foul play, take a knockout on this Buzzwole here, and that would be a huge turn for Joe.
Yeah, definitely. Gonna chorus for 7. Other than that, he hasn't used trade yet, so he'll get a few more cards. Maybe just get other Zorks. I think he'd be fine with as well. He's in a much better position than he was last game.
Oh, absolutely. This game looks worlds better than it did for the first game for Joe. We're going to see what he draws here off of this new hand of 7. Does he find double colorless energy? Looks like an Ultra Ball.
Got a pair of eggs in his hand again. Good breakfast.
And we'll see what else he wants to do. There is an Ultra Ball, so he can use Propagation. If there is that other egg in his hand, he can discard that as well. Get that foul play Zoroark potentially. Maybe at this point he'd just want to get another Zoroark GX out, keep trying to trade. Might want to go for like a Sky Return this turn, chip away at this Buzzwole a little bit, make it easier to knock out later. He has lots of options.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll see what he gets here with this Ultra Ball. I could see the argument for either the Foul Play Zoroark or a Zoroark GX. Looks like it will be that Foul Play Zoroark is what he's opting for to start with. And, this tells me he might have a really good hand.
Yeah, I didn't see the double colorless Choice Band combo there, but maybe he's counting on drawing into one of them with a trade, or maybe he does have both of them.
We'll have to see what Joe plays out from the rest of his hand. Going to go ahead and evolve that Lunge Zorua, actually. There's the Choice Band. Or excuse me, there's the double. There is the Skyfield, and might just be going for that Absorption GX.
That's right. This is huge. Sydney was not expecting this, I imagine. This Buzzwole is going down right away. But, it's interesting. That does activate the baby Buzzwole, the Sledgehammer attack.
Yeah, but, Joe is actually going to be fine with this. He would much rather Sledgehammer come out and knock out the Zoroark with foul play as opposed to a Zoroark GX. That only gives up 1 prize as opposed to 2. That is a huge difference when you have to take the 6 prizes. So, yeah, we're going to see the Absorption GX come out. That's one thing that's really cool about the Zoroark GX deck with the foul play. You don't have access to a GX attack naturally, but foul play means you have access to a GX attack that your opponent might have.
Definitely. Foul play is actually a card that has seen play way back almost 6 or 7 years ago when it first came out. Used to great effect then. Fell off the map for years, but GXs have brought it back into the fold, and you see just how powerful that effect can be.
Yeah, absolutely. GX attacks specifically, I think, is one of the things that makes this card so good. Just being able to, for a DCE in combination with Zoroark GX, copy things like Absorption and Dangerous Rogue and Knuckle Impact. There's just so many potential combos that Zoroark Foul Play can use. I've heard stories. I have a friend who, in Dallas, lost a game because he had a Bunnelby on his bench, 1 card left in deck, and his opponent used Zoroark's Foul Play to copy Bunnelby's Burrow to discard his last card.
Brutal.
So, there's lots of different potential combos out there. And one thing that is also activated here this turn is B-String.
That's a card I actually don't think we've seen used. Everybody's been talking about it, but we have not seen its power firsthand like we are now. Beast Ring allows you to take 2 energy cards out of your deck and attach them to one of your Ultra Beast Pokemon if your opponent has 3 or 4 prize cards.
So it looks like Sid's going to go ahead and start to power up Buzzwole GX. If she can power up 2 Buzzwole GX with multiple Beast Rings this turn, that would be a crazy, crazy turn, and we'll have to see if that's something she's able to do. We do see the Diancie as well as the Fighting Energy on the active, spreading her energy around on these 2 Buzzwoles. Jet Punch will be able to knock out the Fighting Weak Zoroark, doing 100 damage exactly, and she's going to spread 30 damage onto that Zorua on the bench.
Yeah, this was a nice turn from Sydney. She's got a threat as a response with that Buzzwole on the bench. And Diancie, again, showing its power, allowing that Jet Punch to do so much more with just that boosted 20 damage. If I'm Joey, I mean, am I going for a big burst here with a Zoroark and Hex, or what am I trying to do?
You know, it is definitely a tough spot. Sydney has 2 energies on that benched Buzzwole GX. Joe doesn't play Rescue Stretcher, so it's hard for him to get back that Foul Play Zoroark without something like a Puzzle of Time combination to use that Foul Play once again. So it's an awkward spot for Joe here at this point. If he takes the knockout on the active, Sydney only needs 1 energy card. She'll be able to Knuckle Impact the Zoroark with Fighting Weakness and just take an easy knockout.
Joey plays that second Zorua down, which is his full bench now, opting to Colress. So maybe he is fishing for a double puzzle. Grab that Zoroark Foul Play, grab a double, maybe hit a Choice Band, respond with a Knuckle Impact.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he gets off of these 8 cards. You know, there's so many potential cards you could draw with Colress. Like, you could draw up to potentially 16 cards, which is just absolutely crazy. I don't think that Skyfield was in mind whenever the makers of the game designed Colress, but Sudowoodo makes it a little easier for Colress here, you know, limiting it to 8 cards as opposed to the potential of 16 we have now in Expanded.
And Joey's drawing his 8. It looks like I do see a Choice Band in there. I saw an Ultra Ball as well, but that won't be useful. If he grabs another Zoroark GX, then that eliminates the Foul Play, but it does help him set up a little more. He does trade one of the Ultra Balls.
Ooh, did he get it? I don't think so.
I don't see it.
Does have a Compressor, can maybe thin some cards out of his deck. Might just go up and attack with Tapu Lele here this turn, or even Sky Return with Shaman EX to try to get it back and maybe use setup on the following turn. This is a tough spot for Joe, though.
Yeah, definitely. Compressors away. Probably just thinning his deck, maybe taking out some of those those other supporter cards like a Getsis or something if it's not in there.
Yeah.
Egg.
Getz is generally not something that's super effective against these Buzzwole decks, and as we see in Sydney's list, she doesn't even play any copies of VS Seeker, so wouldn't be that effective, and Joe's just going to get rid of a Compressor and an Execute here, it looks like.
I think a decent play would be to attack with this Lele. Just put some pressure down. Don't risk that Zoroark on your bench, because if you lose that, you lose your draw, but Joey, that's not really the turn Joey wanted to see coming off that knockout.
And by not taking a knockout here, Joe is also giving Sydney another turn of Beast Ring. You know, it's not just whenever your opponent goes down to 3 or 4 prizes the first time. It's if they have 3 or 4 prizes at all. And, you know, if it doesn't look like Joe will be able to get the KO here, Sydney's going to have another opportunity to power up even more Buzzwole GX.
Yeah, fortunately for Joey, even though he doesn't know it, Sydney actually only plays 2 copies of Beast Ring. You know, interesting, she seems to be taking a slower, more tempoed approach, but she will have maybe access to that last one to knock out this Lele with an active Buzzwole.
Yeah, we're going to see Communication come out, another expanded card that we've seen played throughout the years and having, you know, some good synergy with these executes that we see played so much nowadays. Gonna find another Zoroark GX, can start to trade once more and try to find one more card.
You know, this is a pretty good thing for Joey, because that Zorua is still on the bench, so he can still use a Foul Play for next turn, but this allows him to set up for a big combo next turn. You know, hopefully this Lele doesn't get knocked out, so he can respond in kind.
See what he opts to do here. Looks like with that DCE on Lele, his best option is going to be that Energy Drive. Will hit for a solid 60. Actually, with Choice Band moving it up to 80 damage.
90.
Definitely, excuse me, 90 damage. Definitely a solid chunk, and going to put this Buzzwole down to just 100 HP remaining.
Sydney does have that strong energy. Looks like she has a Lichen Rock in her hand as well. So if she can find a way to get maybe a Float Stone, she can retreat and use Buzzwole to knock it out. Alternatively, if she finds a Beast Ring, she can Jet Punch a Zoroark, but she opts to pull a Zoroark up here, attach to the bench, and Sycamore.
We'll see if she can find a Float Stone. That may be what she's digging for here at this point.
Doesn't get it.
Doesn't look like she did. She does still have access to Baby Buzzwole. Joe is at 4 prizes, but no Float Stone, no elixirs to get another energy in play. So, and no, it does not find that last copy of Beast Ring either.
Yeah. So, if I'm Sydney, do I attach the Fury Belt here and kind of just put myself much farther out of range, do a little bit more damage, and force Joey to go all in with these Zoroarks?
Yeah, I think, as we see Sydney does attach that Fighting Fury Belt, she's going to force Joe to find, like, that Hex Maniac turn to get around Sudowoodo's roadblock or to find their Field Blower. But even though Sydney didn't get the knockout here this turn, she's still doing a ton of damage to that Zoroark and puts 30 on that Zero, forcing Joe to evolve it once again.
He's got quite the grip of cards here, so I'm sure he's ready. He was hoping that he wouldn't lose another Pokemon this past turn, so he's probably ready to respond with a big Hex knockout.
We'll have to see what he goes with. If Joe could, I think a incredibly powerful turn for Joe would be to, and this is a lot of cards, but if Joe was to somehow get puzzles to get back the Black-White Zoroark, able to find a Guzma, and able to find the Choice Band, he could Absorption GX, Knuckle Impact KO that benched Buzzwole GX. But they're actually going to just go ahead and opt for the stand-in, another Zoroark option that we see here.
And this is interesting. The stand-in, Sydney only has 300 bench, or 400 bench, so Mind Jack will only be doing 130 damage, which I don't believe, I think that's 10 short of knocking out this Buzzwole.
Yeah, Joe would need to find a Choice Band or a Field Blower to get rid of this Fighting Fury Belt. He does have options to find it, though, and off of this Colress, certainly lots of cards drawn as well, especially with 2 trades still available.
Draws. I see one puzzle in there, so that can at least get a double back if he finds a second one. A Mime as well. That won't be too useful anymore, but...
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, Mime is such a good card in this matchup, but we're kind of at the point where Sid has done the damage that she needs to do to bench Pokemon at this point. So we'll see the second trade come out. He does
have a computer search, so this could be a knockout with the stand-in Zoroark. He does have a double.
Computer search can get him whatever other piece he needs. Actually doesn't even need to use it. He's got the Field Blower right there in his hand.
Yeah, this is big for Joey. This is what he wants. Keep using these powerful non-EX Zoroarks to really upset Sydney's prize trades.
And Joe will actually go down to just 2 prizes left, and Sid still has, despite having a pretty solid setup, she's only taken 1 prize this game.
Definitely. The last time we saw this Buzzwole deck, it seemed like it was almost stumbling into prize cards, whereas Sydney can't seem to draw any.
Yeah. So we'll see which option Joe goes for. We know he has access to getting a Choice Band through computer search if he wants it, or he may have one in his hand. He also has Field Blower. Which one do you think would be a better call for Joe here? Either Field Blower to get rid of the Fighting Fury Belt, or Choice Band to get the extra damage he needs?
I like Field Blower here. Choice Band is useful on a lot of different targets, whereas Field Blower, we only need to use it once to trigger this. So he opts to do the Choice Band, though. Maybe, I guess have that in the discard for later so he can puzzle it back. Something you can't do with, or not useful with Field Blower.
Yeah, and maybe wanting to save Field Blower for the potential to take the Fighting Fury, a potential Fighting Fury Belt off the next Buzzwole. So maybe wanting to save that option. That looks like that's what Joe is going for. And yeah, Mind Jack here doing 160 damage will be enough to knock out that Buzzwole. And over to Sid's turn. She's found herself in a tough spot here.
Yeah, her hand looks like Zygarde, a handful of energy, a Fury Belt, and not much else here. This game is really starting to run away from Sydney. I don't really know how she can kind of crawl back into this one.
Zygarde is a pretty solid attacker. It can't get foul played, but it's kind of too late almost at this point in the game. Joe's already used his foul play. He only has 2 prizes left. All he's going to need really is a big turn of Hex Maniac, filling his bench to take a knockout on one of these GX Pokemon or EX Pokemon on Sydney's side.
Yeah, if I'm Sydney, I almost want to find a way to get an elixir and start attacking with that Baby Buzzwole. It will knock out this stand-in, and it'll put Joey in an odd prize position.
Yeah, still can do enough damage because of that DNC Prism Star and, of course, Fighting Weakness as well. We could also, maybe see multiple attachments through multiple elixirs, and even a sledgehammer is the second attack, or swing around maybe is the second attack on that baby Buzzwole. Can potentially use that to do some damage as well.
She gets 2 energy, it looks like, in an elixir. We'll see if she hits this. She does not hit that. She did attach to the Zygarde this turn as well, so I imagine maybe she's going all in with the Zygarde, or just keeping the Buzz active and using Jet Punch for the knockout again.
Yeah, she can use Jet Punch, and that'll mean that she can use maybe a Knuckle Impact on the next turn. Does get Fighting Fury Belt, so forces Joe to find one more card, but we know that he has that Field Blower in his hand, saving it from the last turn. Looks like 180 damage on that Zoroark as well, so it can actually get knocked out in the following turn, and Sydney is actually in a spot where she could take a 4-prize turn next turn if she finds like her Beast Energy Prism Star, and a Guzma can bring up that Zoroark and take out both of these Zoroark GXs and take a 4-prize turn.
That would be huge for Sydney. You know, a lot of times it seems like sometimes players, they're out of it with these weird Jet Punch snipe damages, and then all of a sudden it stacks up, and Joey is now almost on like a 1-turn clock here. He already traded once.
Yeah, he can, of course, win the game this turn if he finds a Choice Band, Double Color Synergy, and a way to fill his bench. He can knock out this Buzzwole. He already has the Field Blower we know in his hand, so he can use that to get rid of this Fighting Fury Belt. There's the DCE. I think if Joe had this combo, though, he would have already played it down.
Another thing Joey could possibly hunt for is a Mewtwo Evo, and that Field Blower that he didn't use to take out the Fury Belt and knock it out with that Mewtwo Evo.
That's definitely an option for him. We're going to have to see
his
what Joe has. He's got lots of cards in his hand. Certainly has many options available to him. I did see a VS Seeker, so he has an option of multiple supporters here. With no Octillery on Sydney's side, and into 4 could be pretty good as well.
Definitely. Okay, Field Blowers gets rid of that Fighting Fury Belt. Hasn't played a supporter yet, but you know, maybe he just, if he has the ability, just goes for a big Colress, hopes to find what he needs.
That could be the case. I think. Oh, Getsis here actually finds a Floatstone, sees that Sydney has a Guzma and a Strong Energy in her hand.
Ooh, that's actually Sydney next turn. If Joey doesn't get rid of this Buzzwole right now, Sydney, will she have enough to knock out both of these Zoroarks?
Well, you do 70 damage with the Jet Punch.
She has the Strong
right,
as well.
Right, so that would be 70 plus 20 more from the Princess's Cheer. That's 90, 180 damage with the 30 damage on Zoroark GX. Sydney actually just has the game next turn if well, no, she doesn't have a way to retreat a Pokemon on her bench yet.
She has Guzma in her hand, so she
can retreat the 2 basic fighting energies off of the Buzzwole, Guzma, attach Strong Energy, and that would be what she needs. Does Joe have what he needs, though? Computer Search was a good card to draw if that gets this. Does it get him what he needs? Joe's just kind of trying to map it out. Does he have the game here or not?
Now, I don't think the Mewtwo is in the discard, so if I'm Joey, do I have a way to grab Mewtwo and knock this out? Or maybe a Hex and a couple other basic Pokemon? I don't really know.
Yeah, you know, there's like just so many different potential options here, but Joe just may not have any, like, he may have pieces of multiple of the different options. He may have pieces of the way to get the Mewtwo knockout. He may have pieces of the way to get the Zoroark knockout, but just doesn't have all of the pieces available to him at once.
Now, I didn't see what he took. Just threw it down here.
Still debating. Looks like he's not sure if this is what he wants to take or not yet.
It's like the other card he was thinking about was a puzzle, but opted not to take it, so I'm not sure what else he has in his hand here.
Yeah, and looks like Joe is having to move a little quicker here. Gonna see what this one card is that he got. And if he doesn't knock out this active Buzzwole, I think, like we said, Sydney's got that Guzma, she's got that Strong Energy. That should be what she needs to get the game. Mr. Mime, actually, it looks like is what he got, and that takes away that 4-prize turn option.
That's huge for Joey. That's what he needed. If he couldn't kill this Buzzwole and win this turn, he buys himself another turn. You know, in this situation now, if you're not going for the knockout, do you just push up the Lele and attack with Energy Drive?
Honestly, it wouldn't be terrible. You do a lot of damage. Actually, even more now that he's put another double colorless energy on this Tapu Lele. He knows he's going to lose the Lele to a Knuckle Impact. But I think he's okay with that at this point because he introduced so much damage and just set himself up to win on the following turn.
Definitely. It looks like he's going to Energy Drive for, is that 150?
170, actually, I believe. So does a lot of damage here. Leaves the Buzzwole actually with only 20 HP. Sky Return could even knock this out at this point. So what does Sid have? She top decked a Max Elixir for the turn. I wonder what she's going to go for. Looks like attaching to the Zygarde EX. Going to use Guzma, brings up that Zoroark. Can take a knockout here with a Cell Storm. And, you know, there is still just that heavily damaged Zoroark on the bench. And Joe just shows the VS Seeker. He's got the Guzma that he needs to take that knockout on the Buzzwole on the bench. And that is going to be game number 2. And we're going to move into a game number 3 with only 11 minutes remaining.
Yeah, definitely. And with not a lot of time left, that's definitely in Sydney's favor. Buzzwole takes quick prizes, especially in Pokemon weak to fighting. So Joey needs to set up, and he needs to set up immediately.
Yeah, this is, like you said, when it's a short game, if there's going to be a finisher, it seems like Buzzwole is normally the one that would come out on top in those instances. Buzzwole can be a little clunkier, though, from time to time. There's always the off chance that Sydney starts, like, just one big basic Buzzwole, and Joe's able to blow up on his second turn and get a knockout with a Zoroark GX's Riotous Beating. So that's basically, I think, is what's going to happen is one of these players is going to have an explosive start. One player is going to have a slow start in order for this to not finish in a tie.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, I think Sydney, you know, she drew pretty well through that game. I think just missed a couple of key things on specific turns. Like maybe if she could have gotten that second Beast Ring off, gotten 2 more energies in play, that could have been really helpful. And, you know, it was just really odd. She got super set up, but it's still only taken 1 prize card.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the biggest things is she never got that Octillery out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe she did prize it, and you can see how useful Octillery is to the Buzzwole decks, especially as the games go farther and farther.
Ooh, on Joe's side, looks like he is starting that Mewtwo from Evolutions, which can definitely apply a decent chunk of pressure to this Buzzwole. These guys are going to go ahead and flip their starting Pokemon over, and we're going to get game number 3 underway. These guys are going to get this started and definitely going to want to, you know, try to finish this game if they can.
Sydney starts with that baby Buzzwole again. You know, it put in a little bit of work so far already, but Mewtwo is the perfect counter to it here.
Yeah, Psychic Weakness over on that Buzzwole side. Mewtwo can definitely hit it for a decent chunk of damage on this first turn if Sid does choose to attach to it. Karina's going to be her supporter of choice on the first turn here. Maybe she'll find, like, ooh, looks like it's going to be an Elixir she's eyeing up, trying to get multiple energies in play on this first turn of the game.
She already has an energy in hand and another Elixir as well, so maybe she's just opting to set up for a big attack and just start kind of rushing Joey down. You know, she probably knows there's not too much time left, so pressure is everything here.
You know, she could maybe try to set herself up for a turn by getting Wide Lens here to maybe go for like a Guzma on the following turn to get the KO on multiple Trubbishes on Joe's side. We'll see what she opts to get, though. Definitely looking like Buzzwole is going to be the fighting Pokemon of choice. It's just kind of this trainer card. What is this item that she takes on this other part of Karina?
Yeah. Opts to take the Elixir here, so yeah, maybe she's just trying to get as much energy on the board as possible. Just kind of outvalue Joey.
Yeah, and we'll see if she can get a decent chunk of energies in play this turn. Here comes Elixir number 1. We know she does have that second one in her hand. Oh,
big whiff.
That is definitely unfortunate. You know, she does only play 8 copies, which is a little lower than what we see from time to time. Like in Standard, the typical counts are 9 and 10. And, you know, she does already have the 1 in her hand, unfortunately. See if number 2 can hit for her, though.
She does get this one. That's big. You know, even just hitting one of them, getting 2 energy on board, she's fine with.
Yep.
This is still very good. You know, she's really counting on Joey not being able to attack, at least right away anyway. So she's got a couple turns.
Absolutely, and I think I actually did see that Beast Energy Prism Star in her hand. She can attach that to either the active Buzzwole or the benched one. You're going to go ahead and put it on the benched one, and that actually can boost her damage a lot. Like the 10 damage between Strong Energy and Beast Energy is a lot more, especially when you consider the fighting weakness on Zoroark.
Yeah, actually, you know, the dream combo for Buzzwole decks is Diancie on the bench, Choice Band on Buzzwole, and Beast Energy on Buzzwole, and that actually allows them to one-shot a Zoroark GX with Jet Punch for 1 energy, which is insane.
Absolutely crazy combo. Unfortunately, Sydney, you know, choosing to play Fighting Fury Belts in her list here doesn't have access to that potential combo, but, you know, Choice Band, it's an interesting call. You know, Fighting Fury Belt is definitely great. It gives you the extra HP. You do still do 10 extra damage. So I guess Sydney was just valuing the extra HP more so than the damage output of things like Muscle Band and Choice Bands that we've seen from the other Zoroark decks.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, there's only one Garb deck, but maybe she figures that not a lot of people are expecting it, and so they'll cut their field blowers. Or maybe it's great for Mirror for the Jet Punch wars.
Oh, absolutely. So we're going to see Bridget comes out on Joe's side. Gets 3 Zoruas. No Mr. Mime yet, though. Good Sydney finds the Wide Lens combo and take a couple knockouts. Didn't find the Wide Lens last turn with Karina. Might not have that option available to her.
Yeah, you see Joey was eyeing the Mime, but he figures the chances of Sydney being able to Guzma, Wide Lens, knockout on this turn after knockout in the last turn, probably pretty low.
Yeah. And I think Sid does only have like one more card in her hand, and I'm not sure what it was. She may not have that much available to her on this next turn. Joe's going to get his 3 Zoruas down on the bench. Does still have one more bench spot. No Sudowoodo on Sid's side yet, but just going to go ahead and pass. Sid top decks a Karina, though.
That is interesting. If she has a way to get this Buzzwole out of the active, she could Karina for the Wide Lens and start knocking out these Zorua, but that, I don't know. She doesn't look like she really has much at all.
She has the Guzma, but unfortunately can't play Karina and Guzma in the same turn. If she had grabbed that Wide Lens last turn, she could maybe have targeted down multiple Zoruas, but I think she's content here after hitting that Elixir. Just going to go ahead and bring up this Zorua, take the knockout, and she'll put an energy probably on this baby Buzzwole, or actually just going to hold the energy for now.
She opts to not attack at all. And that's interesting. You know, she doesn't have Sudowoodo, so Joey really has free reign to just, you know, kind of go as hard as he can this turn and go for this knockout. And she doesn't really have a response on board.
Yeah, you know, not attaching the energy means that she's going to have to find one next turn if Joe was to, like, play a hand disruption card like Red Carter in. But so many energy cards in her deck, you got to think she'd be able to find them. And plus, she'd also be at 4 prizes. Joe would also be at 4 prizes, which means she could use those B-String trainer cards.
Definitely. So Joey sends up the Mewtwo. You know, maybe he thinks that with his current hand, this big Zoroark play is a lot less realistic. You know, maybe he's just going to try and put in a bunch of chip damage with this Mewtwo, which he is doing.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't have a very strong hand, unfortunately. Looks like Colress is going to be his supporter option. Only going to draw 5 cards with this. Not what you want to be doing. Not super ideal. We'll see if he can find more Zoruas, maybe another Zoroark, or even Mr. Mime.
Yeah.
He could have sent up a Zorua and tried to get the knockout here with Zoroark GX, like you mentioned. He also could have tried to get a potential knockout with the black-white Zoroark with the foul play, copying Absorption as we saw him do in the last game. But looks like, you know, he's just opting for kind of the safer route, just going to chip away at this Buzzwole.
Yeah. So he draws 5. We'll see what he gets. If I'm Joey, I think the thing that I really want here is just another Zoroark GX, which he does have. Just want to be able to set up more. He's going to trade immediately. Trades away that Getsus.
Oops. Drops a Via Seeker on the field. Not going to play that quite yet. But yeah, just discarding that Getsus. It's a fine supporter to have in the discard pile. If you want to play it later on, it's fine to have access to it via Seeker and Puzzles. And like we said, it's not super good against Buzzwole anyway. Trade number 2.
Looks like he gets rid of a Hex, slightly more useful. And there is a red card I saw he drew, but he opts to just attack, do 120 damage to that Buzzwole. That's a lot of pressure on Sydney's lone Buzzwole GX.
Yeah, and her only real way to deal with this Mewtwo immediately would be to attach another energy to this active Buzzwole, which would definitely be something that it's like would really feel bad because you're attaching another energy to something that's going to get knocked out the coming turn.
Yeah. She's careening, going to take a Sudowoodo. Maybe she's hoping that, you know, Joy won't have the ability to Hex and go off. And she's grabbing a B-String in preparation for her next turn.
Yeah, if Joe does take a knockout on this Buzzwole that has 120 damage on it, Sydney will be able to use that B-String to get some multiple energies in play. Looks like she's actually going to go ahead and attach the energy and take the KO here. And just valuing really getting rid of this Mewtwo and really dealing with it.
Joey likes to see this. He only gave up 1 prize there, and now he can take a knockout with this Lele, sparing his Zoroark to fight the next turn. Communication.
We'll see what this gets. Could maybe find a Tapu Lele for a supporter. Maybe even Shaman eyeing up Mr. Mime as well. That is a good option. Sudowoodo also a potential option as well. So we hear time being called for the players in the rounds right now. These players on stream are on a separate clock, as you guys can see. 2 minutes remaining. Definitely coming down to the wire here. I'm not sure that we'll be able to finish the game, but there is a chance. You know, Sydney in turns, could take her last 4 prize cards.
And Joey red cards actually kind of bailing Sydney out. You know, he doesn't realize it, but Sydney wasn't really working with a lot. So that red card might actually give her a chance to keep going.
Yeah, and he knows she had the B string in her hand. He wants to maybe get rid of that, force her to find it again, so that he's not just opening himself up to getting knocked out. But Sydney finds a B string once again. Max Elixir, as well as a Fighting Fury Belt and a Strong Energy. She doesn't find the supporter card she needs, but she just finds a ton of ways to get energies in play.
And actually, I think the hand she has now is enough to knock out this Lele with that baby Buzzwole. So that's not really what Joey wanted to see.
We'll see here. He does trade twice. What else does he have access to? Not sure yet. Yeah, Sydney is definitely going to be set up for a really strong turn, and I think she's in a position where she definitely could win this game, despite time having been called, or coming down to the wire, excuse me. Joe's going to go ahead and play via Seeker, gets this out, puts it in his hand. Maybe wants to get rid of that potential B string. He did red card this turn. Hasn't played a support yet. Ooh, that is huge!
That is huge.
Gets rid of 3 cards. Will be able to draw 3 cards. Gets rid of the B string. Gets rid of the Max Elixir. Gets rid of the Fighting Fury Belt. Leaves Sydney with just a Strong Energy in her hand.
This is now I didn't see a double colorless in Joey's hand. I don't think so. He can't capitalize on this fully, but maybe he gets it off of this. Gets us. I don't think he got it, so at least Sydney's Buzzwole is spared, but still such a huge turn. Sydney is in 100% top deck mode here.
And looks like time may have just been called over on the player's side. Our clock might be a few seconds off, but looks like Joe is going to be turn 0. Sydney will be turn 1. Does top deck an in, though.
That's a good thing to bail her out, but, you know, I think they both... I don't see a way for Sydney to take a knockout this turn.
Okay, we've just been notified they actually have a 2-minute time extension, so the game is continuing on, and it looks like there was a ruling earlier on that needed to happen, and so they've got a 2-minute time extension. Sydney's going to attach the Strong Energy to Buzzwole, plays the in, and, you know, normally you would say maybe she can hit a couple of elixirs here and actually attack with this Buzzwole this turn to knock out this Lele, but she's already played 2 elixirs, and she only plays 3 in her list.
And she ends herself. She's got an Ultra Ball for a Lele, but that Sudowoodo is currently locking out her bench. So what she has here is what she's going to be able to work with. Opts to just retreat into the fresh Buzzwole. Just Jet Punch, put more damage on one of those Zoroark.
Yeah, no Mr. Mime on Joe's side yet. Gonna just spread the damage around. This is definitely smart. Does 70 damage for just 1 energy to this active Tapu Lele.
So if Joey can take a knockout this turn, and especially before time is called, Joey will be in a pretty commanding position here, and he needs to find his Hex Maniac first and foremost.
Yeah, if he can have a big turn of Hex plus benching 5 more Pokemon and finding the double colorless energy and moving this Tapu Lele in the active is definitely a way that he could get the knockout on this clean Buzzwole with no damage on it. And it'd be very easy for him to knock out that Buzzwole with 120 on it later in the game, so just needs to find a way to take these last, you know, all these last 6 prize cards, but the rest of his prizes.
Yeah. You know, that's he needs quite a few cards to pull this off, but opting actually instead to take the Mr. Mime, so I think he concedes that it's probably not going to happen. Just wants to kind of conserve, play a little defensively, make sure that Sydney can't win the game. You know, not give up any good board position.
Yeah, so we're at the point here where I think time was just called. I believe Joe is going to be turn 0. I think we just saw the judge's hand come in. So trade number 1 comes out for Joe. Sounds like it's been about 2 minutes. So trade number 2 comes out. And, ooh, double puzzle. That could get him back some of his resources. See what he wants to grab. Double colorless energy is one of the options.
Looks like he's looking at red card.
Ooh, interesting. Maybe he wants to just limit what Sid has in her hand once again.
There's another red card. The last time he did this, Sydney drew a perfect set of cards that he was able to get rid of. So
yeah. So we'll see what Sid gets off of these 4. And at this point, we're at a point where Joe is not able to win this game, but Sydney does have the potential to win, but she's going to have to draw extremely well to do that. And I think Joe will wisely just play around B string here. Not going to take a knockout. Like normally, if this game was continuing on, he'd try to take a knockout, but he's wanting here to preserve the tie. You know, each of these players, you know, taking a tie is not the worst thing for either of them. This is a lot longer of a tournament. Usually people at 6-1 and 2 will be able to make day 2. Joe is at 3-0-1 currently, Sydney at 4-0. So a tie is not that bad for either of these players at this point in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's especially after how bad game 1 was for Joey. A tie is fine here. You know, he managed to recover in game 2, and then game 3, slow start for him, but he was able to kind of delay it and ensure that tie.
Yeah. And I think Joe has probably played these last couple turns with this in mind, saying, hey, I probably won't be able to win this game, but I can still try to preserve the tie, try to make sure I still get that one match point. It does make a difference for later on in the day. And yeah, Sydney's just going to go ahead and jet punch here, and this is going to end in a tie.
Yeah, definitely. Joey just has to pass. They both know that this is the end of the game. Sydney can't take 5 prizes next turn, so that'll be a tie here.
Yeah, Joe, we'll see if he wants to play it out, maybe just get one knockout just to do it, I guess. He could, you know, potentially do that just to show that, hey, I would have been able to get the knockout here, but we'll see what he opts to do. Yeah, I think they're just kind of realizing, yeah, this is going to end in a tie. These players shake hands, and that is going to, you know, wrap up round number 5 for us. Ending in a tie, definitely don't ever love to see a tie on stream, but these guys have played each other many times throughout the years. Like we said, both first-year masters. Both of these people have been playing since they were in the juniors division, so I'm sure have played each other many, many times through the years and are very familiar with each other. So good sportsmanship, good friends on both sides of the table.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that was a very interesting game. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a game really between these decks where both really set up. Seems like one is kind of preying on another's poor setup. But definitely an interesting list from Sydney. A lot of cool tricks that we saw throughout the game. So very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more from both of